The research ship Galileo floated silently above Europa's icy surface. Inside, Dr. Frank Miller checked his instruments one more time. The energy readings from beneath the ice were unlike anything he had seen before. "Are we ready to begin drilling?" Frank asked, looking around at his team of 5 researchers. Susan Green nodded as she adjusted her biologist equipment. "All set on my end. Whatever is giving off those energy patterns, I can't wait to study it." The year was 2175. Humans had spread across the solar system, building colonies and research stations on many planets and moons. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, was mostly covered in ice. Scientists had long suspected that an ocean existed beneath that ice, and now Frank's team was here to investigate strange energy readings coming from deep below. "Start the drill," Frank ordered. The special heat drill began melting through Europa's thick ice shell. It took 3 hours to reach a depth of 2 miles. The team gathered around the monitors, watching as the drill broke through into a large cavity. "We've got a hollow space down there," said Greg Peters, the team's engineer. "It's not just ocean. There's some kind of structure." Frank leaned forward. "Send down the probe. Let's see what we found." They lowered a small robotic probe through the drill hole. Its lights illuminated a massive chamber that appeared to be artificial, with smooth walls covered in strange symbols. "This is incredible," whispered Diane Ford, the archaeologist. "This has to be alien technology. First proof of intelligent alien life in our solar system." The probe's sensors detected movement in a far corner of the chamber. The camera turned just in time to capture a glimpse of something dark and fluid-like sliding along the wall. "What was that?" Frank asked, his voice tight with excitement. Susan adjusted the probe's settings. "I'm not sure. Let's try to get closer." As the probe moved deeper into the chamber, the lights suddenly flickered. Something fast and dark shot toward the camera. For a split second, they saw what looked like rows of teeth and glowing red eyes before the video feed went dead. "We lost the probe," Greg said, typing frantically. "Complete system failure." Frank frowned. "Send down another one. We need to know what that was." The second probe lasted less than a minute before it too went dark. Frank decided it was time for a closer look. "We're going down there," he announced. "Diane, Susan, and I will take the exploration pod. Greg and the others will stay here and monitor." Susan felt uneasy as they suited up in their protective gear. Something about the darkness of that chamber bothered her. But her scientific curiosity was stronger than her fear. The exploration pod was lowered through the drill hole. As they descended into the chamber, their headlights revealed more of the alien structure. It was enormous, stretching for at least a mile in each direction. "Look at those markings," Diane said, pointing at symbols etched into the walls. "They almost look like warnings." Frank was about to respond when the pod's lights caught something moving in the shadows. It was fast, too fast to track properly. One moment nothing was there, and the next, a dark shape clung to the outside of their pod. "What is that thing?" Frank's voice shook as the creature began to phase partly through the pod's hull. Susan stared in horror as the being pushed through the solid metal as if it were water. It appeared only partially solid itself, with a body that seemed to shift between solid and gas. It had no clear shape, only darkness with glowing red points that might have been eyes. "Get us out of here," Susan screamed. But it was too late. The creature was inside now. Diane's scream cut short as the thing wrapped around her. Frank tried to fight it with a laser cutter, but the beam passed right through the creature. Susan watched helplessly as both Diane and Frank were consumed by the shifting darkness. The creature turned toward her next, but suddenly the pod lurched as emergency protocols kicked in from above. Greg was pulling them back up. The creature seemed surprised by the sudden movement. Susan seized her chance and locked herself in the pod's small emergency compartment. She felt the pod rising quickly through the drill hole, the creature slamming against her compartment door. As the pod reached the surface, Susan heard terrible sounds from outside her compartment, the screams of the remaining crew. When all went silent, she waited, heart pounding. until she was sure it was safe. Hours later, she emerged to find the research ship empty. Blood trails led to the escape pods, but they were still docked. Whatever had killed her team was now loose on the ship. Susan knew she had to warn Earth. She quietly made her way to the communication room. As she sent out a desperate distress call, she saw a shadow move across the doorway. The hunt had begun. Susan Green's distress call reached Earth 3 days later. The United Defense Force responded immediately, sending their best team to handle the situation. Commander Alan White stood on the bridge of the military ship Defender, reviewing the limited information they had. "What do we know about this creature?" Alan asked the officers gathered around him. Lieutenant Olivia Morris pulled up Susan's video message on the main screen. "Not much, sir. According to Dr. Green, it can move through solid objects. It killed her entire team within minutes." "And where is it now?" Alan asked. After escaping the research ship, Dr. Green tracked it to Mining Station 12 on Europa. "The station went silent 2 days ago. We believe the creature has been moving from outpost to outpost, leaving no survivors." Alan nodded grimly. "Our orders are clear. Find this thing and destroy it." The Defender arrived at Europa the next day. Alan selected his best soldiers for the mission. Lieutenant Morris for weapons, Sergeant Jack Wilson for communications, and 5 other experienced fighters. They called themselves Thunderbolt Squadron, and they had never failed a mission. The team landed near Mining Station 12. The outpost was completely dark. Snow had drifted against the entrance, undisturbed for days. "No signs of life," Jack reported, checking his scanner. "But I'm picking up strange energy readings inside." Alan signaled the team to move forward. "Stay alert. Remember, this thing can come through walls." They entered the station with weapons ready. The interior was freezing cold. Their lights revealed overturned furniture and signs of a struggle. But there were no bodies. "Where is everyone?" whispered one of the soldiers. Alan pointed to dark stains on the floor. "They didn't make it. Keep moving." They made their way deeper into the station. Jack's scanner beeped louder as the energy readings grew stronger. "Sir," Jack said urgently, "something's moving toward us. Fast." Before Alan could respond, the lights on their suits flickered. A shadow darker than the surrounding darkness flowed across the ceiling. One of the soldiers fired at it, but the bullets passed through harmlessly. "It's here," Alan shouted. "Fall back." The creature dropped down among them. In the chaos that followed, Alan caught only glimpses of it. A shifting mass of darkness with glowing red points. It moved like liquid smoke, flowing around bullets and energy blasts. 3 soldiers were taken before they could reach the exit. Their screams cut short as the creature engulfed them completely. Alan, Jack, Olivia, and 1 other soldier made it outside. They sealed the door, but already the creature was seeping through like black water. "Back to the ship. Now," Alan ordered. They ran through the snow as the creature pursued them. The last soldier turned to fire, giving the others time to reach the ship. His sacrifice bought them only seconds. Once aboard, Alan immediately ordered liftoff. As they rose from Europa's surface, they watched through the viewports as the creature prowled around their landing site before disappearing into the ice. "What was that thing?" Jack asked, his voice shaking. "Whatever it is," Alan replied. "Bullets don't hurt it." Over the next 2 weeks, reports came in of more attacks. Research Station 8, Mining Colony 5, Transport Hub Europa 1. All went silent. Each time, Thunderbolt Squadron arrived too late. They found only empty buildings and bloodstains. But with each encounter, they learned more. The creature left traces of unusual energy behind. It seemed to grow stronger after each attack. And most disturbing of all, it was learning. "It's hunting us," Alan told his superiors during a video call. "Not just killing randomly. It's studying our weapons, our tactics, getting smarter." The general's face was grim on the screen. "We're calling it the Spectre. Your new orders are to evacuate all remaining personnel from the Jupiter system. We're sending reinforcements. With all due respect, sir, Alan said, more soldiers won't help. We need to understand what this thing is first. We may have help with that, the general replied. We're sending you Dr. Lisa Martinez. She's been working with Dr. Green to analyze the data you've collected. After ending the call, Alan stared out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Spectre was waiting. It had killed 7 of his people already. He wouldn't lose any more. We'll find a way to kill you, he whispered to the darkness. Whatever it takes. In the shadows of an abandoned fuel depot floating in Jupiter's orbit, the Spectre watched the lights of human ships. It was learning their language now. It understood what kill meant. The word amused it. These creatures didn't know what true hunting was yet, but they would learn. Dr. Lisa Martinez arrived at the space station orbiting Jupiter 2 days later. She immediately set up her lab equipment in the science wing. Susan Green was waiting for her, tired but eager to share what she knew about the Spectre. Thank you for coming so quickly, Susan said, leading Lisa to a room filled with screens and samples. Lisa nodded. After I saw your videos, I couldn't stay away. This creature is unlike anything we've ever seen. They spent hours reviewing the data collected from the attacked outposts. The Spectre left behind tiny particles after each encounter. Not quite solid, not quite energy. Look at this, Lisa said, pointing to a microscope image. Its cellular structure can shift states. That's how it moves through walls. Susan leaned closer to see. Can we use that against it? Maybe, Lisa replied. But first we need to understand where it came from. They studied the symbols Diane had photographed in the chamber under Europa's ice. The alien writing seemed to be a warning about something the ancient civilization had created. I think the Spectre was engineered, Lisa explained to Commander White when he visited their lab. It was designed to be the perfect hunter. Alan frowned. Engineered by whom? We don't know, Susan answered. But whoever they were, they're long gone. The chamber where we found it was millions of years old. Lisa pulled up more images on her tablet. Look at these readings. After each attack, the Spectre's energy signature grows stronger. I think it's absorbing technology from our outposts. Getting smarter with each kill, Alan said grimly. Just then, Jack Wilson burst into the lab. Commander, we just got word. The mining station on Callisto is under attack. It's happening right now. They rushed to the command center. On the main screen, they watched security footage streaming from Callisto. The Spectre moved through the station with terrifying speed, phasing through walls to ambush the workers trying to escape. It's faster than before, Susan whispered. And more deliberate, Lisa added. Look how it's targeting the power systems first, then the communications array. It's learning our infrastructure. Alan turned to his team. Prepare for immediate departure. We might be able to trap it this time. When Thunderbolt Squadron reached Callisto, they found a new horror. The Spectre had changed. It now carried what looked like pieces of metal and electronic components fused to its shifting form. It's adapting, Lisa said over the radio from the lab, incorporating our technology into itself. The squadron moved carefully through the silent mining station. They had brought new weapons, high-powered energy rifles designed to disrupt molecular bonds. Stay together, Alan ordered. No one gets separated. They found the Spectre in the station's processing center. It was absorbed in something, pulling apart a computer system with appendages that looked almost like hands. Fire, Alan shouted. The energy blasts hit the creature directly. For a moment, it seemed to work. The Spectre's form rippled and destabilized. But then it recovered, faster than before, and turned toward them. The battle was brief and brutal. The Spectre moved with impossible speed, taking down 2 more soldiers before retreating through a wall. Ellen, Jack, and Olivia barely escaped in their ship. Back at the Jupiter station, Lisa examined the new data. The energy weapons affected it, but only temporarily. It adapts too quickly. We need something more powerful, Alan insisted. No, Lisa said firmly. Don't you see? Each time we hit it with a stronger weapon, it learns from the experience. The next attack just makes it stronger. Then what do we do? Lisa turned to her microscope again. I have a theory. There might be a moment when it's vulnerable, when it's shifting between physical states. If we could hit it precisely at that moment. Hit it with what? Susan asked. I don't know yet, Lisa admitted, but I'm close to an answer. I just need more time. On the other side of the Jupiter system, the Spectre moved toward its next target, a large research facility on Ganymede. With each human it absorbed, with each piece of technology it incorporated, it became more than its creators had intended. It was evolving, and it was hungry for more. The research facility on Ganymede fell silent 3 hours after the first alarm sounded. When Alan and his team arrived, they knew what they would find. Empty halls and blood-stained floors. But this time, they came prepared. Deploy the sensors, Alan ordered as they moved through the main entrance. I want to know where this thing is at all times. Jack set up a network of advanced motion detectors throughout the facility. These new sensors could detect the Spectre's unique energy signature even when it was inside walls. We've got something, Olivia reported, checking her handheld tracker. Level 3, moving toward the power core. Alan activated his radio. Dr. Martinez, are you receiving our data feed? Back at the space station, Lisa watched the readings from the Ganymede facility. Yes, Commander. The sensors are working perfectly. We're tracking its movements. What's the plan? Alan asked. We can't keep chasing this thing forever. Lisa hesitated. We've been developing a new weapon. It creates a contained energy field that might trap the Spectre temporarily, long enough to study it more closely. And then what? One step at a time, Commander. First, we need to capture it. Alan signaled his team to move toward Level 3, the remaining members of Thunderbolt Squadron. Now just Alan, Jack, Olivia, and 2 newer recruits named Ben and Maya moved cautiously through the dark hallways. I've got movement, Jack whispered, 30 meters ahead, moving fast. They entered a large laboratory. Equipment was scattered across the floor. In the center of the room, something dark and shifting was examining a broken piece of machinery. Now, Alan commanded. Olivia fired the new weapon. A blast of blue energy shot out, forming a dome around the Spectre. For a moment, it seemed to work. The creature was contained, pushing against the energy field but unable to pass through. We did it, Maya said in disbelief. Then the Spectre changed tactics. Instead of trying to move through the field, it began to absorb it. The blue energy flickered and weakened as the creature pulled it inward. It's draining the power, Jack yelled. The field collapsed. Now glowing with stolen energy, the Spectre moved toward them with frightening speed. Its form had changed again, more solid now, with appendages that looked almost like clawed hands. Fall back, Alan ordered. But it was too late for Maya. The Spectre reached her first, wrapping around her before she could scream. Ben fired his weapon at the creature, but the shots only passed through it. Ben, don't, Olivia shouted. The Spectre dropped Maya's lifeless body and turned toward Ben. He backed away, still firing desperately. When his weapon overheated, he threw it at the creature. The Spectre caught it, seeming almost curious as it examined the gun before crushing it. Alan grabbed Ben's arm. Run. Now. They fled through the facility, the Spectre always just behind them. Jack led them to a maintenance shaft that would take them to the landing pad where their ship waited. It's too narrow for it to follow quickly, Jack explained as they climbed. But he was wrong. The Spectre simply flowed through the walls of the shaft like water. It caught Ben halfway up, pulling him through the solid metal of the shaft wall. The others reached the landing pad and sprinted for their ship. As they took off, Alan looked back to see the Spectre watching them from the doorway. It made no attempt to follow. It's learning, he said quietly. It knows we'll be back. At the space station, The mood was grim. 2 more dead, and still no way to stop the creature. But Lisa had been studying the data from their failed trap. "Look at this," she told Susan, pointing to a series of readings. When the energy field first formed around it, there was a split second when its cellular structure destabilized. Susan leaned closer. "A weakness?" "Maybe," Lisa replied. "But we'd need to hit it at exactly the right moment, when it's shifting between states. The timing would have to be perfect." Susan shook her head. "Even if we knew when that moment was coming, what could we possibly hit it with? Nothing we have works against it." Lisa stared at the readings. "We need something simple. Something it hasn't adapted to yet." In the command center, Alan was making a difficult decision. "We need to evacuate everyone from the Jupiter system. All remaining outposts, all ships. We can't risk any more lives." As evacuation orders went out across the system, fear spread quickly. The most advanced human settlements beyond Earth were being abandoned because of one creature that could not be stopped. Meanwhile, on Ganymede, the Spectre continued to evolve. Alan looked at the mining engineer with suspicion. "How do you know about our problem?" Paul smiled. "Everyone on this station knows about the monster. And I've been listening to the emergency channels. Heard you need someone with good timing." "Why would you help?" Olivia asked. "The evacuation ships are that way." Paul held up his hands. They were scared and calloused from years of work, but his movements were quick and precise. "Before I became a miner, I played baseball, was almost professional. They called me Quick Hand Paul because I had the fastest reflexes in the league." Lisa stepped forward. "Can you react in microseconds?" "I work with precision mining lasers," Paul explained. "One wrong move and boom. No more Paul." "So yeah, my timing is pretty good." A crash sounded from down the hall. Screams followed. "We don't have time for this," Jack said. "It's getting closer." Alan made a decision. "Fine, you're in. But you need to understand something. You'll have to get very close to this thing. Most people who do that don't survive." Paul nodded. "I know the risks. But I've seen what that thing did to my friends at the mining colony. Someone has to stop it." They moved quickly to a small lab where Lisa could set up her equipment. She explained her plan to Paul. "The Spectre becomes vulnerable for a fraction of a second when it shifts between solid and non-solid states," she said. "My program can predict exactly when that happens, but you'll need to be close enough to hit it at precisely the right moment." Paul looked at the data. "And a simple slap will work." "That seems too easy." "It's not about power," Lisa explained. "It's about disrupting its molecular structure at the exact moment of instability. Like pushing a tower of blocks at the exact moment it's most likely to fall." She handed him a small device. "This attaches to your helmet. It will give you a visual signal when the moment comes. Green means wait, yellow means get ready, red means strike. The timing must be perfect." Paul nodded. "What about protection?" "That thing goes through walls." Alan stepped in. "We have something that might help." He led them to a storage room where a sleek metal suit stood in a case. It was unlike standard spacesuits, more compact and clearly built for movement. "This is an experimental exosuit," Alan explained. "It enhances strength and speed. The outer layer has a special coating that might slow the Spectre down if it tries to phase through it. Not much, but maybe enough to give you a chance." Paul whistled. "Nice. I'll take it." As Paul put on the suit, they discussed their plan. They would need to lure the Spectre to a contained area where Paul would have room to maneuver, but the creature would be forced to phase through something to reach him. "The old observation deck," Susan suggested. "It has reinforced walls and only one entrance." "Perfect," Alan agreed. "Now we need bait." Jack stepped forward. "It seems to be drawn to electronic equipment. Maybe we can set up some kind of device that mimics our technology." Lisa nodded. "I can modify a portable generator to emit the same energy signature as our weapons. That should attract it." As they prepared their trap, The station grew quieter. Most people had evacuated, leaving only their small group and a few security personnel. The Spectre is moving toward the central hub, Olivia reported, checking her tracker. It's like it's searching for something. Or someone, Susan added quietly. Paul finished putting on the exosuit. He flexed his arms, testing the movement. This feels good. The strength enhancement is impressive. Lisa attached her tracking device to his helmet. Remember, wait for the red signal. Not a moment before. Paul practiced the motion they had discussed. A flat, open-handed strike aimed at where the creature's core would be. The exosuit amplified his movement, making the air whistle as his hand cut through it. We should move, Alan said. The observation deck is 2 levels up. As they gathered their equipment, the lights in the lab flickered. A cold feeling swept through the room. It's close, Susan whispered. Paul closed his helmet. Then let's not keep it waiting. They moved into the corridor, heading for the observation deck. Behind them, shadows began to move along the walls, following silently. The hunt was entering its final stage. But this time, the hunters and the hunted were not so clearly defined. The observation deck was dark when they arrived. Large windows looked out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. Alan ordered Jack to set up the modified generator in the center of the room. Once we turn this on, we won't have much time, Jack warned as he worked. Lisa connected her computer to the station's systems. I need to track the Spectre's movements. We need to know exactly when it arrives. Paul stood to the side, testing the exosuit's functions. The enhanced strength made him feel powerful, but he knew the Spectre was far stronger. His advantage would be timing, not power. How do I know this will work? Paul asked Lisa. She looked up from her screen. Honestly, I don't know if it will, but the science is sound. Its molecular structure becomes unstable during phase transition. A precisely timed kinetic shock should disrupt that process. Should, Paul repeated. Great. Alan placed his hand on Paul's shoulder. You don't have to do this. We can try to reach the escape pods. Paul shook his head. And then what? This thing followed us from Europa. It will follow us to Earth if we let it. Someone has to try. The generator hummed to life, sending out the energy signature they hoped would attract the Spectre. Everyone took their positions. Alan, Jack, and Olivia stood near the exit with weapons ready. Susan helped Lisa monitor the creature's approach. Paul waited in the center of the room, near the generator but not too close. Remember, Lisa told him, wait for the red signal. Not a moment before. Minutes passed in tense silence. Then Lisa's monitor beeped. Movement in the ventilation system, she whispered. It's coming. They watched as a dark shadow flowed from a vent near the ceiling. It hovered there for a moment, as if sensing a trap. Then it dropped to the floor, taking a more solid form than they had seen before. It looked almost humanoid now, but made of shifting darkness with red points of light where eyes should be. It's evolving faster, Susan said in horror. Learning to mimic us. The Spectre moved toward the generator, curious about the energy it sensed. Paul stood very still, watching it through his helmet display. Green light flashed steadily, telling him to wait. Suddenly, the creature turned away from the generator and looked directly at Paul. It seemed to recognize the threat he posed. It knows, Olivia whispered. The Spectre moved with blinding speed, not toward Paul but toward Lisa and Susan. It had identified the true threat, the one who understood its weakness. Lisa! Alan shouted, firing his weapon at the creature. The blast passed through the Spectre harmlessly. It reached Lisa before anyone could react, wrapping dark tendrils around her arm. Susan grabbed Lisa and pulled her back, but the Spectre would not let go. Paul rushed forward, but his display still showed green. Too soon to strike. Olivia ran toward them, firing continuously at the creature. Let her go. The Spectre swept Olivia aside with one powerful movement, sending her crashing into the wall. It continued pulling Lisa toward itself. Jack tried to circle behind the creature. Paul. Now. Not yet, Paul called back, watching his display intently. Still green. The Spectre lifted Lissa off the ground. She struggled, reaching for her tablet that had fallen to the floor. The program. She gasped. Keep it safe. Ellen fired again, aiming for the creature's center. This time, the Spectre reacted by partially phasing through the floor to avoid the shot. As it did, Paul's display flashed yellow. It's going to shift, Lisa shouted. Get ready. The Spectre turned its attention to Alan now, dropping Lisa to the floor. It moved toward him with deadly purpose, preparing to phase through the wall Alan was backing against. Paul's display flashed yellow more rapidly. He moved into position, watching the creature intently. Come on, he whispered, just a little closer. The Spectre reached the wall and began to phase through it toward Ellen. At that exact moment, Paul's display flashed red. He lunged forward, arm extended for the strike. But he was too far away. The Spectre was almost through the wall. Olivia, recovering from her fall, saw what was happening. With her last strength, she threw herself at the creature, grabbing its partly solid form. Now, Paul, she screamed, holding the Spectre in place. Paul's display flashed bright red. He swung his arm forward with all the enhanced strength of the exosuit. But he was still a split second too late. Paul missed the Spectre's core by inches as it pulled away from Olivia's grasp. The creature fully phased through the wall, taking Olivia with it. Her scream cut short as they disappeared. No, Ellen shouted, rushing to the wall. Jack helped Lisa to her feet. We've lost her. Susan picked up the fallen tablet. The program's still running. We can still track it. Paul slammed his fist against the wall in frustration. I was too slow. There was nothing you could do, Lisa said, but we're not finished yet. On her screen, they could see the Spectre moving through the station. It was heading toward the reactor core, dragging Olivia's motionless form with it. Why the reactor? Jack asked. Lisa's eyes widened. Power. It's seeking more energy. Ellen turned to the others. If it absorbs the reactor's energy, we won't be able to stop it. Ever. They raced through the station, following Lisa's directions. Paul moved faster than the others, the exosuit boosting his speed. I'm going ahead, he called back. There's no time to waste. He reached the corridor leading to the reactor room first. The Spectre was just ahead, still carrying Olivia. Paul could see she was barely conscious, but still alive. Let her go, he shouted. The creature turned. It seemed different now, more focused, more aware. It studied Paul with its glowing red points. You cannot win, a voice whispered in Paul's mind. The Spectre was communicating with him. Paul stayed focused on his helmet display. Green light steady. Why are you hunting us? Paul asked, trying to keep it distracted until the others arrived. The creature tilted what passed for its head. To become better. You are not the first species we have hunted. You will not be the last. We? Paul felt a chill. I am one of many. We sleep until needed. We hunt. We evolve. We become perfect. Paul saw the others arriving behind the Spectre. Helen signaled for him to keep the creature talking. And what happens when you're perfect? Paul asked. We begin again. New hunters. New prey. The Spectre looked down at Olivia, who stirred weakly in its grasp. This one fought well. Her energy will make me stronger. As it spoke, the creature began to absorb Olivia's remaining life force. Her body grew pale and still. Paul's display flashed yellow. Soon I will take all of you, the Spectre continued. Then your world. It started to move toward the reactor door, beginning to phase through the reinforced metal. As it did, Olivia's eyes opened one last time. Paul, she gasped. Now. His display flashed bright red. Paul lunged forward with perfect timing, his hand moving in a swift, flat arc. The exosuit amplified his baseball player's reflexes, driving his open palm directly into the Spectre's center mass at the exact microsecond it was most vulnerable. The slap connected with a sound like thunder. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the specter froze. Its body began to ripple and shake. The darkness that formed it started to break apart into tiny particles. Impossible, the creature's voice whispered in Paul's mind. The specter released Olivia as its form destabilized further. Paul pulled her clear as the creature collapsed in on itself. The darkness twisted and folded, compressing into an ever smaller point of light before vanishing completely. Silence filled the corridor. "Is it dead?" Jack asked in disbelief. Lisa scanned the area with her tablet. "Its energy signature is gone. The molecular structure has completely broken down." Alan knelt beside Olivia. "She's alive, but barely." They rushed Olivia to the medical bay. As doctors worked to save her, the others gathered in the observation deck, staring out at Jupiter's swirling clouds. "A slap," Susan said, shaking her head. "After all our weapons failed, it was beaten by a slap." "The simplest solution," Lisa explained. "It had adapted to our technology, but not to something so basic." Paul removed his helmet. "Will there be more?" It said it was one of many. Alan looked grim. "If there are, we'll be ready." 3 days later, as they prepared to return to Earth, sensors detected new energy signatures beneath Europa's ice. Different from the first, but unmistakably similar. Lisa looked at the readings, then at Paul. "How's your slapping hand?" Paul flexed his fingers. "Getting stronger every day." The most advanced hunter in the galaxy had fallen to the most basic human action. Not because of superior technology or overwhelming force, but because of perfect timing, understanding, and the uniquely human ability to find simplicity within complexity. As their ship pulled away from Jupiter, Paul knew the hunt was not over. But next time, humans would not be the prey. They would be the hunters. Lisa worked for 3 days without rest. She studied all the data from their failed attempts to stop the specter. Susan brought her food and coffee, but Lisa hardly noticed. "You need to sleep," Susan said, placing a hand on her friend's shoulder. Lisa rubbed her tired eyes. "I can't. Look at this data. I think I found something important." On her computer screen were detailed scans of the specter's energy patterns. Lisa pointed to a specific section where the patterns changed suddenly. "This happens every time the specter moves through a solid object," she explained. "For just a tiny moment, its body becomes completely unstable." Susan leaned closer. "What does that mean?" "It means there's a moment when it might be vulnerable. A split second when its molecules aren't properly connected." Susan looked hopeful for the first time in days. "So we can kill it." "Maybe," Lisa said, "but the timing would need to be perfect. And we'd need the right kind of attack." Commander Allen entered the lab with Jack and Olivia. His face was tired and grim. "We lost contact with the mining base on Io," he said. "That's the 3rd outpost this week. The evacuation ships can't keep up." Lisa stood up straight. "Commander, I found something. The specter has a weakness." She showed them her discovery on the large screen. The energy patterns of the specter looked like waves, rising and falling. But at certain points, the pattern broke completely. "See this break?" Lisa asked. "It happens when the specter changes from solid to non-solid. For a microsecond, its body becomes unstable." "How does that help us?" Jack asked. "If we could hit it at exactly that moment, with exactly the right amount of force, we might be able to break apart its molecular structure permanently." Olivia crossed her arms. "What kind of weapon are we talking about?" Lisa hesitated. "That's the strange part. Our high-tech weapons are actually too complex. They take too long to work. We need something simple and direct. Something that delivers force instantly." "Like what?" Alan asked. "Like a punch," Lisa said, "or a slap. Direct physical contact might work better than any weapon we have." The room went silent. Then Jack laughed. "You're joking, right? This thing eats people who touch it." "I'm serious," Lisa insisted. The Spectre adapted to our weapons. It learns from each attack and gets stronger, but no one has survived getting close enough to actually hit it. It hasn't needed to adapt to something so basic. Elen looked thoughtful. Even if you're right, how would anyone know exactly when to strike? And how would they get close enough without being killed? Lisa turned back to her computer. I've been working on a program that can predict the exact moment when the Spectre will be vulnerable. As for getting close enough, she shrugged. That's the hard part. Suddenly, the station lights flickered. The emergency alarm began to sound. Warning: unknown entity detected in Docking Bay 7, said the station's computer voice. Everyone froze. It's here, Susan whispered. On.